Hello listeners, welcome to today's episode, which will be a bit different. Today we're going to be looking through the posts of a Reddit user called SpontaneousH, who documented on Reddit his use of heroin and all the tragic events that followed. Some people may find it a bit disturbing, but I honestly think it's a story worth hearing. I did heroin yesterday. I am not a drug user and have never done anything besides pot back when I was a teen. I have never been a drug user. I drink once in a while and smoked pot years ago back when I was a teen in high school a few times, and that's it. I'm 24 now. I have a master's and a well-paying full-time job. Yesterday I was walking through Washington Square Park, where I pass every day, and there are always people there looking to sell drugs. They don't usually solicit drugs to you unless you stop to stand around near them or look like you're looking for something. Yesterday, I happened to stop by a row of benches to check some messages on my phone when a dealer on the bench to my right asks if I need anything. Now, my life has been pretty boring the last few years, and I feel like I haven't really lived, taken any risks, or done anything crazy. So I figured, what the hell, maybe I'll buy some pot. It's been a while. So I said yeah, and after asking me several times if I'm a cop, he gives me his number and tells me to meet him at a specific fast food place and he'll hook me up. I say alright and nervously check to make sure I have cash and go meet this shady looking dude. We sit down, and after him hounding me again, asking if I'm a cop, he asks me what I need. I tell him I just want a dime bag, and he says something like, "Nah, sorry man, I only sell half ounces. You can take that, and I've also got some coke and H." At this point, I didn't want to buy a half ounce of pot. Probably never smoked more than an eighth in my life, but then I started considering his last word, heroin. I've heard so much about it and how crazy addictive it is, and seen it in movies and TV. I'm thinking The Wire here, one of my favourite shows. And it's really started to intrigue me. I've always wondered what it would be like to do heroin. Out of nowhere, I say I'll take the H, and we do the deal there. I gave him the cash under the table, and he slides me a small order of fries with a little stamped wax baggie in it and tells me to let him leave first. I put it in my pocket and nervously race home, my heart racing, cannot believe what I just did. I held onto that bag in my pocket, palms sweating the whole ride home. When I get home, I open the bag and dump some golden flakes and powder on my glass coffee table. At this point, I don't even know what to do. I know you can snort heroin, but it looked all flaky, so I tried to remember how they did it in the movies, but they always seem to inject it. So I start googling how to snort heroin like an idiot and do a little research on the stuff and how much to take. I used a card to get it into a fine powder and move a small bump to the side, which I inhaled through a dollar bill. I didn't feel anything yet, so I snorted another small line, which was essentially half the bag. There was very little inside. Then I waited, and in a few minutes I had the most pleasurable feeling of pure relaxation and bliss wash over me. I just sat there and everything felt amazing. I nodded off and it was great. I had the TV on but wasn't paying attention. I must have sat around for 4 hours doing nothing but feeling total pleasure. It was like a full body orgasm times 10 that kept going on and on. When I would nod off, it felt like I was in a pure conscious lucid dreamlike state. Sometimes it felt like I was leaving my body. At this point, I did the rest of it and stayed up all night and must have been high for 10 hours straight. I might have slept at one point. It's hard to tell the difference when you nod off and everything feels good regardless. Just the feeling of being under a blanket was amazing. I was blown away by the power of this drug and just how orgasmic it felt. I never understood why people did drugs before and got so hooked on them, but now I see why. I have the urge to do it again, but I will resist and not do it, at least for a long time. I understand the addiction potential and how someone could easily tear apart their lives with this stuff. Heroin is pure powderized pleasure. I actually feel proud of myself for having the balls to do something this crazy, and I feel like it was a valuable life experience and my window into another world. I will never forget the day I did heroin. Now ask me anything. So this was posted 15 years ago, and just to manage expectations, this was far from the only day he did heroin. Just take note of how he begins as so self-aware, so cautious, and with such a strong feeling of control. There are a lot of comments where people are rightfully telling him that it was a stupid idea and he'll definitely be back for more. He responds mostly by saying how he's very strong-willed and not easily brainwashed, convinced that he's stronger than the need for heroin, the need which destroys so many lives even after just trying it once. One of the reasons it's so hard for people to live without after trying it is that it releases 100 times the amount of dopamine into your brain as having sex, which for someone who hasn't tried it is inconceivable, and for someone who has tried it, mind-altering. You will soon realise that nothing in your life will ever feel as pleasurable again. To finish off this post, he's added a couple of updates which I'll share just to show really how confident he is in his own will against addiction. Please, no more comments telling me I'm going to be a homeless addict dying of an overdose now. Don't lecture me with all of your misconceptions and lack of any real knowledge or experience about the drug. I understand if you know someone who has been hurt by it, we all do. Any drug can ruin lives. Please ask me questions instead of trying to lecture me, and do some research first before spewing lies. I don't regret this at all, and I see a lot of talk about how cocaine isn't as bad as heroin, and people telling anyone considering trying a hard drug to do cocaine instead. I've known and seen a lot of heavy coke users, many who've become addicted and OD'd, and I find it disturbing that people think coke is acceptable because some higher class circles find it socially acceptable. So I plan to try cocaine the next chance I get and compare the two in terms of effects and experience. Doing heroin was memorable and life-changing, and I know I can handle anything once. I've done my research on coke and know all the risks, so if anyone has any questions or opinions on the matter, feel free to chime in. This is an experiment and an adventure in life. I'll report back once I try it. Two weeks ago, I used heroin once for fun. I have been using since and shot up today for the first time. I know there will be a lot of people telling me I told you so and urging me to seek help, and they are right. Trust me, I know the danger I'm in of ruining my life. I'll be checking out a Narcotics Anonymous meeting this week. I know I'm on a fast track to becoming an addict, and I want to stop it before it gets out of control and I'm physically addicted. No one in my life can know about this, and I want it to stop before it's too late. I have been using for 2 to 3 day periods, then taking a couple days off and then using again. The breaks were in part to try to not get hooked, and in part because I had an unreliable dealer who charged me more than double what I should be paying. Today I met a guy through some internet channels who said he could get bundles for significantly less than half the price my old dealer gave me on his most fair deal. He also happened to be an IV user and had a stash of sealed needles and supplies and offered to shoot me up. I had kind of hoped I would find someone who would, and he was a pro finding all my small hidden veins and injecting a bag in one shot. To quote Trainspotting, take the best orgasm you've ever had, multiply it by 1,000 and you're still nowhere near it. He gave me some new needles and tourniquets, and when I got home I tried to do it myself. After not hitting a vein countless times, I finally got a red flag and was good to go. I have injected 5 bags since 4 PM, the last one a little less than an hour ago, and I'm tempted to do one more. This post, I believe, is about a week after his first post, and it is incredible to see the rate of his decline. There are a lot of edits, updates and comments on here. It's obvious things got a bit erratic for OP after this post, but I'll try and piece it together chronologically as best as I can. I nodded off after taking another hit at 4 AM and couldn't be bothered to look at this anymore and just woke up sore with a headache. For people calling this fake, is this proof enough for you? Or do you want to see my track marks too? They're not pretty, and this is under 24 hours after first shooting up. I'm not proud of any of this and posted it here because I can't tell anyone in my life and don't want to keep it to myself. I figured doing another post would give me the opportunity to talk about my issues anonymously and help realise the extent of my problem through feedback, but the a**holes saying this is all fake trolling can f*** themselves. I appreciate people giving legitimate advice and asking questions. I'm going to the next NA meeting I can find. Quick update. I appreciate all the genuine concern and advice. I finished my stash. Bad idea, but it's too late. Threw out my needles and I'm too faded to respond to comments for now. When I sober up in a couple hours, I'll check out some NA meetings. So I slept for about 30 hours, sweated out my entire body, and now I feel okay. I also took a shit for the first time in like a week, which was pretty awesome. I can stop this on my own. I don't think I even need NA, but I'm not ruling it out. I have no craving or desire to do heroin. I'm sure some of you will be quick to say I need real support, and maybe you're right, but right now I think I'll be okay. The next update is after he went to an NA meeting. Went to NA, I shared my story and it seemed to hit a lot of people. I cried and I got a lot of support and numbers, and I feel like I'm in a good place and truly believe I never have to use again. I will be going back. 1000 comment update. F my life, I wish I was trolling and this was all some elaborate lie. I was doing everything right, I've been clean, and somehow a rumour got out that I've been using, and my girlfriend found out and she's basically broke up with me last night but is now putting that decision on hold. I have some serious unrelated business/work I need to attend to in 2 hours, and I don't know if I'll be in any state to be able to and be ready. I can't stop crying. F heroin. F my life. Guess I don't need to say that since heroin pretty much f***ed my life for me in under 2 weeks. I just want to die. Wednesday night update. I'm still withdrawing, throwing up and sweating out gallons of sweat. I really want to use and relapse right now, but I know I shouldn't. These urges are so strong and overpowering. Please help me if you can before I get the chance to. Okay, so as far as this post goes, there's a comment in which someone explains, as an addict, what OP can expect if he doesn't clean up. And then OP leaves one more comment here 4 months later, where he really explains how out of control it is. I'm an IV morphine addict, so I know where you're coming from. In my opinion, there's no going back now. You're going to be in for one hell of a ride. So you found heroin. You know you like it. Hell, you love it. Like the chase, like the catch, like the high. Opiates are like kissing God, and once you've tried them, there's no going back. If you don't clean up now, or clean up soon, within a month, this is what you can expect. After a few days of continuous use, you'll become physically dependent. The withdrawal from opiates are like the high, but turned inside out. Imagine how much pleasure you get when you push the plunger all the way down and you feel the smack hit your brain and you just melt. Now turn it inside out. You can expect to be pissing out of your ass, freezing cold, yawning non-stop, dripping nose, muscles and bones feel like they're breaking and spontaneously combusting, no sleep, severe depression and ideas of suicide, the list goes on. Second, be prepared to lose everything you have. You will lose your job, your family, your friends, your possessions, your apartment, everything. The longer you keep going, the more you lose. Eventually, once you've lost all your possessions in the physical realm, then the smack will take your soul with it. You will be a cardboard cutout of your former self. This is exactly how I felt in the depths of using. The lights were on, but nobody was home. Just an empty shell full of smack. There is a very likely chance that you will end up in hospital. There is a very likely chance that you will end up in prison. There is a very likely chance that you will die. You will continue to be ripped off to no end. There are no friendly or honest dealers. You will go places you never thought you would go. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, you are a junkie now. Welcome to my life. And next is OP's response about 4 months later. I'm very lucky to have a supporting family, but it definitely strained all my relationships and threw my life way off course. I was using and fully addicted for about a month when I went on Suboxone and got cleaned up. Suboxone is the marketed name of a combination of 2 drugs called buprenorphine and naloxone, which together work chemically to decrease the severity of withdrawal symptoms and the dependence on opioids long term. Also Google says. That went well for about 2 to 3 months, and then I started messing around with my Suboxone dosage and trying to get my tolerance low so I could get high from it. I got pretty obsessed with the idea of injecting everything, so I injected my Suboxone daily. I relapsed and had about 6 weeks of switching back and forth between heroin and Suboxone. It was usually 3 to 4 days of heroin, hydromorphone and or fentanyl IV, then 3 to 4 days of getting back on Suboxone and feeling depressed and shitty with minor withdrawal symptoms. Just sweats, depression and loss of energy. Then starting the process all over again. It was too easy to cheat because I could use all the opiates I wanted, then get right back on Suboxone without experiencing any major discomfort. Last week I stopped and got back on a high Suboxone dosage of 24 mg a day. I'm pretty confident I'm done with dope. I'm lucky I didn't fuck myself over completely with that relapse, and I needed to stop before I really did some serious damage to my life. I'm lucky I only lost cash, some trust and time. I don't want to think about how much I spent, but too much, maybe a couple of grand. I just know it could have been much worse. So onto this next chapter of my life and dealing with addiction. I hope I'll never touch an opiate or opioid again, other than Suboxone. Unfortunately, that isn't the end of it, and the worst is still to come. I am a patient in a psychiatric hospital, also technically dead last week. I'm in one of the nation's finest hospitals and get internet access in 30-minute intervals before having to restart my session. Because of this, OP adds snippets of information here and there in the comments, so I'll pick out what's relevant. It's worth noting that this is now a year since his last post. I overdosed on fentanyl, plus I had a lot of diphenhydramine, pregabalin, temazepam, and maybe some lingering oxymorphone in my system. I stopped breathing with several fentanyl patches in my mouth. They were previously used and I thought they had much less left in them. They were partially blocking my airways and I would have been dead if I was found 10 minutes later, according to the EMS. It took multiple shots of Narcan to revive me. I was supposed to go to Florida today, but now I'm stuck here in limbo for who knows how long. I went through 4 days of hellish withdrawals before I had enough Suboxone in my system to help. And Suboxone is powerful stuff. I had no idea how much tolerance I'd built up from all the fentanyl use. I still don't know how I'm ever going to live an opiate-free life. The most I've gone without opiates since getting hooked is 3 to 4 months. Ditching all drugs is an even harder thought. It always creeps back on me. Once OP is discharged from the hospital, he's going into rehab, but before he does, he makes another post. I am a heroin, opioid and multi-substance addict with bipolar disorder. Headed to rehab tomorrow because I didn't listen to Reddit. I OD'd 1 week ago and am in a psych hospital. Tomorrow I leave the psychiatric unit to go to a substance abuse unit for a couple of weeks before heading to a long-term residential rehab program. Reddit warned me I would become an addict when I made a post a little over a year ago after first trying heroin. Needless to say, I didn't listen and am paying the consequences. This is my third extremely close encounter with death from drugs in the last year. In that time, I've done more than you probably know exist. This is my third chance at life, and I don't know if I'll get any more. Most of the people in the comments are just wishing him good luck with rehab and motivating him to get through this. OP says, "Thank you. Right now, I'm not very hopeful that I will never touch substances again. In fact, I won't kid myself, and I know I will. I just have to minimise those occasions, and when I relapse, make it as safe and short as possible. When I told myself I would never touch alcohol or drugs again, it was a setup for failure, and worse, disappointment. 1 day at a time." He adds a final edit on the post to say that he gets transferred to the rehab in about an hour, and it seems like they have a lot of freedom there. But this was the last we seemed to hear from him for years. "7 years later. Update for anyone who stumbles upon this account in the future. I'm now almost 6 years clean from all drugs and alcohol, and life is good. It's too difficult for me to go back and even read most of what I originally wrote 7 years ago. Maybe one day I'll be able to. I don't even remember what I said in that first post, but I know I can look back objectively and say that things probably weren't as good as normal before I tried heroin that time as I made them seem in the first post. There were certainly warning signs before that with alcohol, weed, and other things that I had issues with, although I probably couldn't admit it to myself at the time. I'd never have tried it if things were truly going well for me. What followed in the later posts with where it took me was very real. I hope everyone here is able to find recovery and get the help they need. Someone in the comments asks whether they've been able to build their life back after everything that's happened. I've rebuilt all the relationships with my family and all the friends who mattered at least. I think I mentioned an ex-girlfriend I put through hell way back then, and she wanted nothing to do with me. I tried making amends a year or so later, and she told me I could make it right by never contacting her again. So I didn't, which was all for the best, and she's married now. I'm employed now, and I've been at the same company almost as long as I've been sober. Someone in the comments asks what exactly made him go back to get it a second time. OP doesn't seem to respond, but somebody leaves a comment which seems hauntingly accurate. They leave a step-by-step thought process. I'll try H, just once. I can handle anything once. That was amazing. I can really see why people get addicted. But it's not for me. I'm done. It's been a few days and I feel fine. No withdrawals, nothing in my life imploded. I beat it, and I had an amazing experience. It's the weekend, and nothing seems fun right now. My friends are all busy. Maybe I'll get another hit. It was fine before. I know I can handle it. I proved I was strong enough. That was great. I'm so glad I'm not addicted. That stuff could wreck your life, it feels so good. I wish it was safe to do all the time, but I know I can't. Thank God I'm strong. Finished work early and it's Tuesday. Don't really want to go out and I don't want to be hungover, but heroin had 0 side effects and I handled it just fine. Maybe I'll do that again. It didn't feel so great that time. Maybe the bag wasn't good. I hear that happens sometimes. I should get a couple more next time so I don't have a meh high. Oh, I'm using so many bags of H each time, it's crazy. Way too expensive. I hear it goes a lot further if you inject it. I'll try it once to see if I can handle it. ... That doesn't sound dissimilar to what SpontaneousH experienced. There is one comment here which really gets my attention. Wow, I can't believe I'm seeing this. I remember your post very well. I'd never considered heroin until I read your post. I kinda want to give you a big f*** you because I can recall how thrilling, curious and excited it made me feel. I agreed with you on everything you said. It actually inspired me to go out and do the same thing. And now I'm here just trying to get past the acute withdrawals and you have 6 f***ing years. It's really been 7 f***ing years since that post. I don't know what else to say. I'm just in shock from seeing this and speechless. That's a really sad thought. And it annoys me because I've noticed in some comments on the later posts that OP has been trying to include a narrative where he was already messing with coke and really had a problem with weed and alcohol, implying that his life was heading in that direction anyway. And while I think, based on his first post, that seems untrue and is just a scapegoat to silence the people telling him that he messed his life up in the earlier posts, just my opinion, it makes the whole thing so dangerous because he would in that case have been misleading people who otherwise had great lives and have never touched drugs, convincing them it's safe for them to as well. Blissful ignorance is one thing, but trying it as a way to take your drug use to the next level, then claiming it was just on a whim, is poisonous. OP just responds to say that he's sorry and hopes he can get the help he needs. And then there's one final post by SpontaneousH about 5 years later. It's been a while. I saw a disturbing and sad post about an opiate OD and was reminded to try and log in and check this. I guess it's been over 3 years since I've checked this or posted anything. I find this Reddit account pretty overwhelming. I'm just posting to let people know that I'm still alive, clean and doing well. OP didn't leave any updates in this post really, so that's it from SpontaneousH. It seems like rehab really was the key here which got him past it for good. It is a shame that that's something not always available for people, but it is good to see OP manage to crawl out of the hole that he so clumsily stumbled into. Through the whole experience, there's been many people questioning how genuine the events of the posts are. and to be honest, I don't think it matters too much. Looking at the comments on this final post, you can really see how much this has helped people and their friends stay away from opioids and heroin. And it really is a lesson that people need to learn before it's too late. When they say heroin, not even once, this is why. Use this story as a cautionary tale to prevent yourself from ever making that mistake. And thank you very much for listening.